Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of pewterreport.com. It is a Wednesday edition of the show. Want to say hello to all the Pewter people that are watching us right now and in the comments. We had a great turnout on Sunday's game during the Pewter Game Day show, the live stream. We had a great turnout during Monday and roll call, and judged by 30 seconds into the show, we're going to have a great turnout for today as well as we turn our attention to the Bucs next game, a primetime matchup of Bucs versus Eagles coming up on Monday night. The only battle of 2-0 versus 2-0 this week in the NFL. So I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is the face that runs the place, Scott Reynolds of PewterReport.com. Scott, this is a litmus test for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. There's no more playing, the dumpster fire that is the Chicago Bears. There's no more playing the Vikings who can't get out of their own way with turnovers. This is a real deal for the Bucs.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. This is the varsity team, right? They got through playing the JV on Sunday. And as we talked about last week, the schedule makers helped the Bucs out because the Eagles are a more talented roster, right? They're the NFC champions or the defending champs till they're not. San Francisco's up there for sure. And the Bears are kind of way down at the bottom, right? I mean, they had the top pick in the draft essentially. So before trading it to the Panthers.
Yes.
But similar styles of the ways that they want to attack on offense. So I think for the Buccaneers defense, it's good to kind of do the pre-test before the test. And I think by the signs of sacking, Justin Fields 6 times, would have been 7 if Devin White's sack had counted.
Yeah.
And then forcing as many turnovers as they did with 2 interceptions, including the big pick 6. It just, I think this was a good pretest, right? And they stopped the run, and the Eagles have more weapons, right? Jalen Hurts is better than Justin Fields.
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift better than any of the backs that the Bucs have faced so far. Certainly coming off a 175-yard game against the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at, A.J. Brown on that offense. They've got Devontae Smith.
Those 2 touchdowns, 2 games, yeah.
Yeah, those 2 guys are better than DJ Moore and either Chase Claypool or Darnell Mooney, whoever you want to put as their number 2. The defense we'll get into, it's way better than the Bears defense that has 1 sack in 2 games.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Matt, you're exactly right. You couldn't have been more right. This is a litmus test. Are the Bucs for real? Or, are they a 2-0 team that has beaten a pair of winless teams and is going to get steamrolled by the Eagles on Monday night? We'll have to wait a couple days to find out.
And that's been the key for the Bucs. If you look at their 2 victories, forget the fact that they're, playing against winless teams. The big key for the Bucs early on has been that they've been winning the turnover battle, or even more importantly, the Bucs haven't turned the football over at all. And as great as that's been for the first 2 games, you can do that against lesser teams, especially the Bears.
Right.
I think the Bucs got a little more lucky with the Vikings.
Yeah.
You could still not turn the football over against the Philadelphia Eagles and still lose this game. Like, you have to be proactive against this Eagles team. So I think hopefully for the first time we see with the Bucs offense a little bit more of the unknown, the creativity, the kitchen sink, where we've seen it to a degree. I'm not, by no means am I going to call Dave Canales' offense vanilla, because we've seen a lot of motion, but I still feel like we've only seen like 35%, maybe not 35, but like 45% of the offense. So I think you're going to see a little more tricks of the trade with Dave Canales and that Bucs offense. We do have a super chat from Jonah. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Jonah says, Eagles opened up as a 6.5-point favorites, then 5.5, and now 5. Jonah, I noticed that as well. That number keeps going down and down. So a lot more people are believing in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which is a good thing for Bucs fans. And I think what helps the Bucs in this game, just looking at an overview of everything, yes, the Eagles are 2-0.
Right.
They haven't looked spectacular in those 2-0 games. It's been a little bit of survive and advance for Philadelphia. And that's fine in the NFL. It's not college football. There's not style points. It doesn't matter as long as you win. But that offense did not look good against the New England Patriots. Let's remember the Eagles, Darius Slay had a 70-yard interception return for a touchdown. And that was the top offense for the Eagles in that game. And there was the running game was great against the Vikings for the Eagles, but there were some not growing pains, but there were some struggles as well with that Eagles offense. So if there's any time to go up against the Eagles, it's right now where they're
I agree.
dealing with that Super Bowl hangover just a little bit, or appearance.
No, you're right, Matt. And the other thing too is let's not forget, you talked about the Super Bowl, right? Nick Sirianni did a great job in getting the Eagles there, but he lost both of his coordinators to head coaching positions. Shane Steichen is with the Indianapolis Colts now. Jonathan Gannon is with the Arizona Cardinals. So they're breaking in two new coordinators. Now, I will say Brian Johnson is the quarterback's coach of the Eagles, so he's moved into the offensive coordinator position. So there should be a little bit of a more seamless transition there, especially with Jalen Hurts. But it's still, you're at the controls now, right? And you're not just the quarterback's coach. You got to call the plays. Dave Canales will tell you it's different when you get the play sheet, you look at the play clock, and you got to make the call, and the right call. You have to make the right adjustments, right? So then the interesting thing is, while we have this graphic up here of this picture of Dave Canales here, is Sean Desai is the new Eagles defensive coordinator. And where did he come from? He came from Seattle, where he was an assistant head coach and worked with the defensive coordinator there. So this is really going to be a chess match. We've talked about the Brian Flores, Dave Canales chess match in week one. You've got a veteran play caller on the defensive side, a newbie on the offensive side. Well, this is interesting because now Sean Desai is the defensive coordinator for the Eagles. And spending that year in Seattle, he knows that Seattle offense. He knows what Dave Canales might be thinking. Now, Dave wasn't calling the plays there in Seattle, so he doesn't have the entire script of what Dave's going to do or wants to do, but he has a better idea than most. So it's going to be really interesting to see who can win this chess match in terms of familiarity. Does Dave Canales know Sean Desai better than Sean Desai knows Dave Canales? I really think it's going to come down to these three guys right here. Dave Canales, offensive coordinator, special teams coordinator, Keith Armstrong, head coach, defensive coordinator, defensive play caller, Todd Bowles. These guys are going to have to outcoach a Super Bowl head coach in Nick Sirianni. And so far, they've pretty much pushed the right buttons. We saw that the blocked field goal last week, but special teams, I think, are better. And certainly Jake Camarda, congrats on winning the special teams Player of the Week award in the NFC. But Matt, I think it's going to come down to coaching just as much as the players, because this, I believe, has a chance to be another close game.
Scott, I think that's a fantastic point that you're making. And first of all, shout out to Jake Camarda for winning Special Teams Player of the Year. Shout out for Dave Canales. He actually just tweeted out about an hour ago, we may not win that game or he said something along the lines of everything matters. And he was talking about Jake Camarda jumping on the fumble after the block kick. So shout out to the coaches highlighting other players that he doesn't even have to coach. And thank you to Q's for the $2 super chat, where Sean Tucker might have more of a role this week. As Q says, I've grown very fond of these Bucs over the past few weeks, and Dart Schrader and the Q's are rocking. Good luck, Bucs. Thank you so much, Q's44, for the super chat. We'll talk about Sean Tucker because Chase Edmonds is going on the IR. He's going to be on there, so he'll miss at least the next 4 games. And Pat O'Connor got called up to the active roster, so shout out to Pat O'Connor. But to get back to the coaches, I mean, the Eagles definitely have a little bit more talent than the Bucs do, but it's not to say it's a wide margin. I mean, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith versus Mike Evans and Chris Godwin is pretty closely even. If you want to say that the Eagles' offensive and defensive line is a little bit better than the Bucs' offensive defensive line, you don't really have an argument from me there. But sometimes, as we've seen in the NFL, better coaching can be the difference maker of winning a game or losing a game. I mean, how many times do we see in a season a team loses and the coach goes up there and says, we got out-coached that game. We got absolutely out-coached. So the scheme and the game plan and everything like that could be the difference. I think a really good example is, to whoever watched the Sunday night game, the Miami Dolphins were incredible in week 1 with their offense, throwing it everywhere. And then Bill Belichick and the Patriots, while they lost, they really subdued that Dolphins offense with a different type of umbrella style of defense that hadn't really been seen yet playing against this Dolphins offense. So the reason why I say that, obviously, that doesn't impact the Bucs in this game against the Eagles, but we know the Eagles are going to pin their ears back. They got a nasty defensive line. The Bucs know what the Eagles have been able to do with stopping the run in those first 2 games. Now, the Bucs aren't going to shy away from running the football, but I think this is where you get a lot more of those end arounds to Chris Godwin or Devin Tompkins or something like that, or maybe counters and different cuts and things of that nature that we haven't seen in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and Cuse mentions Sean Tucker, and there he is with Todd Bowles there. And it's interesting because now you've got Chase Edmonds who's out, and Sean Tucker will be the number 2 back. Keyshawn Vaughn will be active for this game. He's been a healthy scratch the last 2, so he'll be active as that 3rd running back. But the thing about Sean Tucker, it's interesting, is this is a rookie running back. And in any good defensive coordinator, when you see a rookie running back in there who has not yet checked the box as I'm a really good pass protector, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of a tip off that, oh, Sean Tucker's in the game, probably either going to run or throw the ball to him, right? He's going to be spelling Rachaad White. Rashaad's a pretty good pass protector, and I think he's established that reputation so far. But when Sean Tucker's in there, that to me, if I'm Sean Desai, the Eagles defensive coordinator, that is an automatic tell that I'm going to be sending a blitz, right? And you show pressure. Now, all of a sudden, now you make Sean Tucker be a pass protector. And we saw that, and that's how teams attacked Ronald Jones, right? When Ronald Jones was in the game, whether it was first down, second down, whatever, they stacked the box and they said, you're either going to run the ball with Ronald Jones or we're going to come after you and we're going to make Ronald Jones pass protect because we like our blitzer versus him in shoddy pass protection. And I've got a feeling that that's what's going to happen. When they see 44 out there, Sean Tucker, they're going to be saying, hey, we're coming either with a run blitz or a pass blitz, and we're going to make Sean Tucker pick up the blitz. And if you can't do it, that means more of a workload, more reps, more snaps for Rachaad White as well. So that's kind of the chess match that you're alluding to with the coordinators and them playing a really big game and making those in-game adjustments.
Yeah, and pass protection is definitely a concern going into this one for me. And Rachaad had already been playing about 75% to 79% of the snaps. Now, we do have a $5 super chat from Jack Caraco who says, as today is International Talk Like a Pirate Day, want to hear your best pirate talk. Well, Jack, thank you. Thank you for the $5 super chat.
We stole $5 from you. We put it in our treasure chest.
5 golden schmeckles, or whatever they call it. 5 golden blooms.
Doubloons.
Yeah. Thank you for the 5 doubloons, Jack. But
that's cool, though.
There were
hold on. You know what? You know what that deserves? That deserves a little cannon fire, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you didn't get a chance to join Matt and Josh for Pewter Game Day on Sunday, that's the new intro. That's the new graphic that Kyle Thiel from Pewter Report created, which is awesome. We love that. And since we just talked about Pewter Game Day, let's go ahead and promote that anyways here, because we've got Pewter Game Day coming up on Monday night. We're going to have a little changing of the guard here. Matt's going to be at the stadium with myself and with Adam Slavon. We're going to have Bailey Adams and Josh Capo handling Pewter Game Day. They're excited about that. We want you to be excited too. The live pregame show starts at 6:15 on Monday night. And of course, kickoff is 7:15. Remember, it's a doubleheader Monday night game. The Bucs have the early game, which we're not upset about that. We like that.
No, not at all.
So 7:15 kickoff for the Bucs Eagles. But tune in at 6:15 for Bailey and Josh's. I've already seen the rundown. They've got the matchups to watch. It's going to be a fantastic pregame show. And Matt, myself, and Adam, we call him Sly, Adam Slavon, will be at Raymond James Stadium to cover all the festivities and do a Pewter postgame podcast live from the stadium as well afterwards.
Yeah, so definitely looking forward to the next game. Going to be a ton of fun. I want to keep talking about the pass protection, but we keep getting super chats, so I'll get to the pass protection at some point. Zachary Jarvis with the $1.99 super chat says, any updates for Davis and Cansey? Love the show. Thank you, Zachary. So we did not have media availability with the Monday night game, everything got pushed back a day. So
Right.
there'll be practice on tomorrow, Thursday, Friday,
Yep.
and Saturday. So we didn't see anything at practice with Carlton Davis and Kalijah Cansey, but we will make sure that we update you as soon as possible once we see or do not see them on the practice field.
Yep.
As Old School Den says, let's go eagle hunting. We
Yep.
also have a 1999 super chat from
Thank you.
Football Fan. Appreciate that, Football Fan, who says, nice to see you guys per usual. I hope the Bucs get a win on Monday. I hope for all the Bucs fans that they see their team get a win on Monday as well.
Yeah.
As Darvell
Appreciate
says,
the comment there.
Pewter, game day is the best way to watch Buccaneer football. Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun because, not everyone loves all the announcers that call the game, and they're supposed to be neutral. This is a Bucs podcast, so we are looking through it through a Buccaneers lens, what they're doing well, what they're not doing well. Obviously, you want to see the exciting moments. So, yes, we'll be neutral about, oh, hey, the Bears are doing a really good job on, attacking the Bucs in the run game or whatever it is. Or the Eagles have played great coverage on Mike Evans that game if it happens. Like, we call that stuff out, but obviously we look at it through a Bucs centric kind of outlook. So
can we talk about the Cam Akers rumors? Yes, those are dead. So he will not be a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. Tampa Bay is going to stand pat with the running back room right now. If they need him, they'll call Patrick Laird up from the practice squad. Hit the thumbs up, everybody. Algorithm, baby. Hey, Adam Davis, we love you. And you know what?
Adam Davis.
We love you. And we also love about 11,999 of you others. There's the right graphic. Boom. There we go. That's right. We hit 12,000 subscribers on our Pewter Report YouTube channel. Even Tom Brady's excited about that.
He's got a little more time on his hand. Maybe he's watching.
Yeah, maybe he is. And number 12 is gracious to all of you 12,000 subscribers to Pewter Report TV. If you're not a subscriber yet, do so, please. Help us get to 13,000. That's the next number. And we'll have Mike Evans wearing number 13 on the next graphic. But thank you very much, Peter, people. This means a lot. We've had a meteoric rise really since training camp. We're just smashing growth numbers, and it's so much fun to see. I don't know about you, Matt. This is not a job. I love being on the Pewter Report podcast. It is so much fun with the comments, the questions. I have said for years, our subscribers are the most intelligent Buccaneer fans. They have some of the best takes, the best questions. You guys pay attention. You're glued in. You're not some casual fans. And if you are, we love you too. But face it, the more Pewter Report podcasts you listen to, you're not going to be a casual fan anymore. You're going to be one of the most educated fans around. And we love that about you. We love Roll Call on Monday, the post-game podcast, the pre-game shows. We do it all for you guys. And we just appreciate the love and the support. Thank you very much.
I have so much fun with the Pewter people each show. And you guys come up with great questions, too, where I'm like, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. So we're all helping out each other. And we got another super chat from Christopher Cole. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat. And Christopher says, hell yeah, fire the freaking cannons. Well, hopefully the Bucs will be able to fire off the cannons a pretty fair amount against the Philadelphia Eagles, but they will have to be able to contain this Eagles pass rush. And what kind of concerns me about the Bucs is the run game was very improved last week against the Chicago Bears. But as we've said, literally and figuratively, this is a different animal going from Bears to the Eagles.
It is. Yep.
It's
a
the
big step up.
The run, 52 yards allowed per game. I don't think the Bucs are really going to be able to run it straightforward unless they get crazy creative with it. But we even saw last week against the Bears, who do not have a good pass rush and stupidly kept putting up Yannick Ngakoue against Tristan Wirfs. There were still times, while, yes, it was amazing watching Baker Mayfield dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge through the Bears pass rush. He can get away with that in that situation.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen all the time against the Eagles. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, no pun intended. But if he runs into those situations a couple of times, I know he had the backhanded shuffle to Rachaad White and a couple of those plays.
Cade Otton,
Cade Otton, it's going to be few and far between against the Eagles. You cannot just bank on, Baker's going to run his way out of it. It's just not possible against the Eagles.
Yeah, the talent level is just night and day. We talked about it last week, Matt. The Bears had one pass rusher. It was Yannick Ngakoue. And instead of putting him against Luke Gedeke for most of the game, he saw 18 snaps against Gedeke and like 38 against Tristan Wirfs. That's bad coaching for Matt Eberflus, who is a dead man walking in this league. He is going to get fired, not just for Justin Fields' ineptness as a quarterback, but for dumb decisions like that. Why would you want to waste your best pass rusher running him into a brick wall that is Tristan Wirfs? But the Eagles, different story, Matt. I have never seen a two deep across the board in this defensive front that has 7 first-round draft picks. 7. Let's see if I can get them all off my memory here. Fletcher Cox up front, defensive tackle. You've got Jalen Carter, who's here sacking Mac Jones. That's 2. You've got Hassan Reddick right there. He's a Cardinals first-round pick. That's 3. Then you've got Jordan Davis. That's 4. You've got Nolan Smith, outside linebacker. That's 5. You've got Derek Barnett, the backup edge rusher behind Josh Sweat. Josh Sweat's number 94 there. That's 6. And then you got Brandon Graham. Old man Brandon Graham. He's still playing, man. He got double-digit sacks last year. That's 7 first-rounders. So it's crazy. When the Buccaneers put in their reserve outside linebackers, right? I mean, and we like Anthony Nelson. Nothing wrong with him. He's a 4th-round pick. And we like Yaya Diaby. Almost caught myself there. Yaya Diaby, 3rd-round pick, right?
Yeah.
So we like those guys. Well, when Josh Sweat goes out of the game, first rounder Derek Barnett goes in the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got Brandon Graham on one side. And if he's not going to be coming against Luke Gedeke, it might be Hassan Reddick, another first-rounder, or the backup, Nolan Smith, another first-rounder. So it is talent galore. Now, I will say one thing. It seems like this Eagles pass rush is missing a little something. Doesn't mean they can't explode. They're going to have 10 days to game plan against the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
But, Matt, when I look at this is a unit that had 70 sacks last year. The only guy that's not here anymore is Javon Hargrave, who was really good, double-digit sacker, but they switched him out for Jalen Carter. They're not missing much. Carter's amazing as a rookie. But they have 4 sacks among 3 players, and that's it. And I hope this is not the Eagles coming out party in terms of like the sacks that we saw from the Bucs last week. But they have the talent to erupt, but they haven't put it together yet rushing the passer like they did last year when they had 70 sacks.
And here's the scary thing about that, Scott. One thing you alluded to is they're going to be well rested because they have not played since last Thursday when they defeated the Minnesota Vikings.
Right.
Jordan Davis in that game, surprisingly, only played 17 snaps, which is crazy because the Vikings had 58 offensive snaps. And Jordan Davis only played 17 of those snaps. So I imagine he'll get a little bit of an increased workload, especially as the season goes on. And all the guys you mentioned getting sacks, Hassan Reddick does not have a sack yet, but the same thing happened to him last season. He started out the first 2 games, did not have a sack, and then went on to record 16 the rest of the way. So if he's on that same type of trajectory, he's about to start heating up, which is not a good favor for the Buccaneers.
Yeah. The one guy that I think can be erased up front is Josh Sweat. He's primarily on the right side. He's going to be going up against Tristan Wirfs. And if I'm, I've got all the faith in the world in Tristan Wirfs. I mean, Josh Sweat's a hell of a player. I'm not saying that he's going to, get blanked or shut out by Tristan. He might get some pressures. He might get some hits. He might get a sack, but I don't think he is going to be the difference maker. Now, he can be. This is a pick 6 he had against the Cowboys last year. He's a very athletic edge rusher from Florida State. But I think if there is, the weakness for the Buccaneers, it's right here. It's this interior. It's Jordan Davis. It's Fletcher Cox. It's Jalen Carter. One of those 3 guys is going to be on the bench, getting rested, getting fluids, and then coming in to replace either Cox or Jalen Carter or Davis if one of those other guys is off the field. So those 3 guys in rotation against these 3 guys, Robert Hainsey, Matt Filer, and the rookie Cody Mauch, who did struggle a little bit against Dexter Gervin from the Florida Gators. He was the rookie that was giving some fits last week against the Bears. This is it right here. It's not even just running the ball. It's holding up in pass protection against those 3 defensive monsters inside. And Hainsey has been okay the first 2 games. He has got to play the game of his life against Davis, Cox, Carter in this game. Yeah.
You know what this offensive line is going to need, Scott, in this game? They're
Oh,
going
lots of it.
they are going to need energy. They are absolutely going to need energy. So I hope they have a Celsius energy drink before they play this game. Of course, Celsius is the official sponsor of PewterReport.com and the Pewter Report podcast. Make Celsius your number one pick. There's an assortment of great flavors, including their newest flavor, the Cosmic Vibe, which is a sparkling fruit punch. There's no sugar, no post-energy drink crash or jitters that you might get with another product out there. So if you want to try out all their assortment of flavors and you don't know where to find one, that's okay. And you could be literally anywhere in the world. You just go to the Celsius store locator on the Celsius website, punch in your address, and it'll tell you the closest geographical location to pick one up at your local Walmart, Target, convenience store, health and fitness store, or your bodega.
Bodega.
And if you want to start getting in bulk after you realize that you love Celsius, that's when you go to Amazon, click on the subscribe and save, and you can have Celsius sent to your residence whenever you want. You control it. It could be a week, a month, quarterly, yearly, whenever you want. Send it to your house via the subscribe and save on Amazon. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks. Make Celsius your number one pick. Celsius, the official sponsor of the Pewter Report podcast and the Pewter Game Day Show.
Yeah. We've had some great comments today. I mean, you guys are ready for this game. It's Wednesday, and you're like, why can't this game be on Sunday? You know, I mean, I feel you, Bucs fans. I do. You Pewter people are ready, and I'm ready. I'm anxious to see, like you said, Matt. I think you nailed it. This is a measuring stick game for the Buccaneers. How good are they? Are they contenders or pretenders? We're going to find out here, and we're going to give you the unvarnished truth. We're being honest. I don't want to dampen anything about the Bucs 2-0 start. I did a Pewter Pulse video on that. You can check that out here on Pewter Report TV. But we got to keep it real. It took a 3-0 turnover margin for the Buccaneers in their favor to beat the Minnesota Vikings by 3 points. It took a 2-0 turnover margin victory, and both of those turnovers came in the last 2 minutes of the game to beat a really bad Chicago Bears team by 10 points. So we have to put that out there too. Do I think the Buccaneers are going to get blown out by the Eagles? No, I don't. Can it happen? Absolutely, it can happen. It can really happen. If the Eagles turn it on and become the team that they were last year, where Hurts is playing better and not turning the ball over, if they're running the ball as well as they did against the Vikings on Thursday Night Football, if this pass rush comes alive, overwhelms this offensive line, and gets 4, 5, 6 sacks, it could get really ugly. It really could. I don't know that's going to happen, but I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not. I think either if the Bucs win, it's going to be close.
Yes.
Or they could lose close, or it's going to be a blowout in the Eagles fashion. But I don't see Tampa Bay coming in and blowing this team out on Monday night.
My confidence in the Bucs keeping it close, and if they were going to win, is going to be by the defense keeping Jalen Hurts under wrap and everything of that nature. There's another thing I want to talk about the Bucs offense against the Eagles defense before we kind of flip to the other side of the football for the Bucs. But we do have a super chat from Brandon Riley who says, any word on Cansey? I really believe he would be the difference from having a really good front seven to having an elite front seven. Go Bucs. Brandon, thank you again for the $5 super chat. Again, we were not at practice today. There was no practice with everything getting pushed back a day. With that said, there is a chance that they kind of just held out Kalijah Cansey last week as a precautionary thing. And I would say that Kalijah Cansey probably has a better chance of playing than Carlton Davis based on the significance of the injury. But you know, we've discussed the fears of what could go wrong for the Bucs or how the Eagles could really take advantage of this game. But it's not all doom and gloom. There are some positives for the Buccaneers, and some of that comes with the personnel that the Eagles won't have and will have for this game. So they actually announced, I believe today, that they put Avonte Maddox on injured reserve. He was their starting slot corner. So the middle of the field becomes a little bit more of an opportunity for the Buccaneers. So the Eagles have a couple of options. So James Bradbury, who's one of their outside corners, he missed last week's game with a concussion, but from reports that I've looked up on, it looks like Bradbury is going to be ready for this game. Now, they could move James Bradbury into the slot, but then that kind of opens up an opportunity on the outside where Mike Evans plays and Chris Godwin has been lining up a lot more this season. They got a player named Josh Jobe. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his
Josh Jobe.
Josh Jobe.
I was from Alabama.
Roll Tide. and didn't play well against USF. But anyway, that is definitely an opportunity for the Bucs to once again take advantage of. So that's something that has to be looked at, and we'll see
also
if the Bucs
too,
can
Matt,
exploit that middle of the field.
Agreed. To your point, Reed Blankenship, who is their safety, he missed last week's game as well. There's a chance he comes back and play. But another player that they're missing in the middle of that defense is Nakobe Dean, right? Another Georgia Bulldog. I think they've got like 7 on their team now. Jake Camarda is jealous because all his teammates are playing on the other team this week. But Zach Cunningham is replacing him as the middle linebacker.
Yeah.
And I think between, you've got a backup middle linebacker in there. You're going to have a backup slot corner for the Eagles. I wouldn't be surprised if this is a game where Chris Godwin gets put in the slot, kind of like the good old days.
School. Yeah.
And really works that seam. And not just him. There'll be Trey Palmer in there. There'll be Devin Tompkins in there. There'll be Mike Evans in there. But I wouldn't be surprised, and this is not any inside information. This is just my educated guess. But if I'm Dave Canales, I'm putting Chris Godwin in the slot and saying, Chris, do what you've always done. Work this slot, find those holes and seams in between the middle linebacker, and see if you can get a couple steps on that backup slot corner, and see if you can't produce like you have before with the 100-yard game for us. Because I really think this is a game they're going to need a big game from Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, because they're going to have to throw the ball more than they want to. I agree with you, Matt.
And I really think Godwin's going to benefit from the fact that Mike Evans went off last game with the 171 receiving yards and a touchdown, because the Eagles can't just ignore that and be like, that was a one-off. So they're obviously going to roll a lot of coverage towards Mike Evans. And I think Chris Godwin's been really good this season. He just hasn't had like the crazy game that Mike Evans just had in week 2. Let's remember, Chris Godwin was the one that made that catch at the end in week 1 to seal the deal against the Minnesota Vikings. And he made a nice third down catch last week as well. So Chris Godwin is more than fine. The numbers don't just necessarily show it just yet. But I think this is an awesome opportunity. Chris Godwin's always been better at the yards after the catch than Mike Evans, with all due respect to Mike. So I'm down for old school Chris Godwin. He can get it done as a blocking receiver as well, but let him get a little physical. Let him lower the shoulder on some guys after he's got the ball in his hands. Maybe we'll see some design screens to Chris Godwin. But I'm with you. I think this is going to be kind of a Chris Godwin coming out party on Monday Night Football.
Speaking of coming out party, if you have not been tuning in Fridays for Matt Matera's, as Paul, aka Dreamhouse, Florida Dreamhouse, calls him Matty Diamonds, and I love that nickname. We're going to call you Matty Diamonds. You got to tune in to Pewter Report TV on Fridays, maybe on Saturday if you miss it on Fridays, because it's up there in podcast form. Matt does a great job with his new show every Friday called Pewter Picks and Props. Sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. So make sure that you check that out. It's a great video. It's about 20 minutes long. It's in-depth as possible, not just in the Buccaneers, but also a couple of other games around the NFL. So if you like to game, you like to wager, you got to tune in on our Pewter Report TV YouTube channel to that. I've also got a couple of new Pewter Pulse videos. One just dropped this morning. I'll have another one tomorrow on Baker Mayfield. So check all of this stuff out at Pewter Report TV.
Yes, please do. I am 10-5-1 on the season picking NFL games. I'm 4-0 on the Bucs games. 4-0. So each show I always pick the Bucs games no matter what. I pick the spread and the over-under. I'm 4-0 on that. I do a couple player props as well. I'm 4-1 on my player props.
There you go, Matt.
Including going 2-0 last week. And I make some NFL picks as well. So if you're into, fantasy props or betting on teams and players, it's a great show. Or even if you're new to it and you want to learn a little bit more, I kind of dive deep on that as well. It's just a lot of fun, super easy going. And I plan on winning some more this week. So definitely check it out on Friday. And of course, you can either play Underdog Fantasy. You could also make some picks at mybookie.ag. Use that promo code Pewter. That's PEWTER. Football season is always the best season to bet on, but you can do it for all the other sports. If you use that promo code Pewter, you can get a first deposit bonus up to the maximum is $200. The minimum is $45. It's a 10% cash rollover, but mybookie.ag is the spot to make your gambling bets. Use that promo code Pewter, PEWTER.
Yep, mybookie.ag, promo code Pewter. And I did really well on Sunday. thanks to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that made
Yeah.
up for my bloodbath that I took on Saturday. I lost a lot of money. I lost like 95 large after winning like 170 large the previous week. So, yeah, so I've already got some action going for this week's college games as well as the pro games. And speaking of college games, I'm actually going to be in Manhattan, Kansas, see my daughter
Woo!
Helly, my alma mater, as they
Awesome.
take on the
Great.
UCF Knights. Charge on. Now, the interesting thing is the Knights, they're my Florida team. So I've kind of adopted them a little bit. I love live college football, and I go out to Kansas about once a year to watch K-State games, but I love going to the Bounce House. Matt, I'm actually 5-0 watching UCF in person.
Wow.
And I'm 5-0 watching Kansas State after graduation at the Bill, which they call Bill Family Snyder Stadium or Bill Snyder Family Stadium. So something's got to give
Yeah.
on Saturday. Either my Wildcats are going to lose or my Knights are going to lose, one of the two. But Chris Oxentine will be there. Scott, I will be in Manhattan Saturday to watch my UCF Knights. That's awesome. Chris,
Fantastic.
email me at sr@pewterreport.com, and we'll hook up before the game. And I'd love to meet you because you're a longtime supporter of us here at the Pewter Report podcast. So email me, sr@pewterreport.com, and we'll see if we can meet up.
Yeah, that would totally be awesome because we love the Pewter people. I had someone tweeting at me. I guess they're coming from England. They're coming from the for the Monday Night Football game. Was asking me places to go, watch college football and stuff of that nature. So we love interacting with the Pewter people as much as we possibly can. As Richard says, I won $225 here at work in our Pick'em leagues. Awesome. That is so great, Richard.
All right, so getting back to our preview, this is an interesting little matchup here, right? As Long Lost Leisure says, the naked, as they call them, the baked bootlegs, will get Mayfield killed this week with the speed the Eagles have on the edge with Josh Sweat, Hassan Reddick, Nolan Smith. Vikings and Bears don't have that speed and still got to him a bunch. That's true. You got to think that Todd Bowles and Dave Canales, they're going to be ready. Like they're going to be saying, hey, this is probably not the week to do some of those naked boots. This might be the week where we see Max Protect, where we see a ton of Max Protect in 2-man routes, and we'll see if Baker can let it rip, and if Mike and Chris can beat those types of coverages. But I would expect a lot of Max Protect. They got to keep Baker upright. They got to keep him healthy for sure.
Meets McGee with a $5 super chat says the players that need to raise their play: Hainsey, Gedeke, Dean, and Neal. And the players that need to continue to grow are Logan and McCollum. I
well said.
Unequivocally agree with you with Logan and McCollum for sure.
Yeah.
Hainsey and Gedeke as well. And yeah, I think Dean can play better too. What's interesting about Ryan Neal is I asked Todd Bowles about Ryan Neal the other day, and he said, we're kind of learning about Ryan Neal a little bit more, and especially like how well that he can play in the box. He said he plays just like a linebacker. So I expect to see Ryan Neal even more playing up in the box, which obviously is this week on Monday, is really going to be to negate the running game that the Eagles did so well on Thursday against the Vikings. So a new little, not a crazy new, but a different wrinkle with Ryan Neal this week. And Todd Bowles obviously trusts his coverage at safety as well.
Yeah, and I think when you look at Ryan Neal, he's not the fleetest of foot, right? I think that's a reason why he went undrafted. But Jamel Dean, who he is, and he's got to play better. Jamel Dean has not had a great start to the season. And he's not been bad in terms of giving up touchdowns or anything like that, but he's got to be more sound in his technique. He looks like he's just a half a tick slow in his reaction times. And they really need him to be on the spot, because if Carlton Davis can't make it for this game, then Zion McCollum and Jamel Dean are your corners. And as we talked about, the Eagles, Devontae Smith is better than anybody on the Bears team in terms of wide receiver. And the same can be said for A.J. Brown as well. Brown hasn't really gone off, yet, but I think it's coming. Hopefully, it doesn't come on Monday night. But this is a 1-2 punch, and Jalen Hurts has got to improve as a passer. He's not had the best start to the season either. I think if you're looking for kind of a saving grace, some teams match up better against others, right? Like the Buccaneers, they have certain teams where they just, like for the Saints, for the longest time, they just couldn't beat the Saints. And so last year they swept them, but that's because Drew Brees wasn't there, but I think that Todd Bowles might have the Eagles number. We'll find out. Now, this is a much improved team. It's a more talented roster than the last time they played, but they played the Eagles twice in 2021. They beat them 28-22 on Thursday night in Philadelphia. And then later that year in 2021 in the playoffs, in the first round of the playoffs here at Ray J, beat them 31-15. And that was a game that really wasn't as close. The Eagles scored a touchdown, I think, in the last couple of minutes of the game.
Yeah, they didn't score until the fourth quarter. Yeah.
Right, yeah. So maybe Todd Bowles has the Eagles number. We'll find out. The one thing about the Eagles, as you alluded to earlier in the show, Matt, is you look at they got up to a pretty good start against the New England Patriots at New England in week 1, and then they allowed the Patriots to kind of creep back in, and they won that game by 5 points. Mm-hmm. And then last week, same thing. They kind of get up to a good start against the Vikings. The Vikings made it interesting, and the Eagles won by 6 points. So these were games where the Eagles, I believe, had double-digit leads in both of them earlier in the game, and then they allow some points at the end to make it closer than it probably should have been. Maybe that bodes well in the Bucs' favor. If they get down early, they still have a chance to come back. If the Eagles are just getting into a bad habit of letting teams back in the game.
And that's been the message, at least on the offensive side of the ball, is don't panic, even if there's a 3 and out or, the game starts slipping away a little bit. Just keep going with the plan, keep going with the system. So I think that's going to be more or less the same message going into this one. And like I said, I mean, if the Bucs are going to keep it close, it's got to be that defense. It's got to be, Shaq off at the edge, Vita Vea having another monster game, Devin and Levante, especially to clean up for what has been a struggle for Jamel Dean. And I think it's a little bit more under the microscope because he just got that big contract. And Zion off to a really good start, whether it's the special teams week 1 or how he played in week 2. But, 2 weeks into the season doesn't determine the rest of his how his play is going to be. So, yeah, it was nice last week, but now you have much tougher competition. So, a ton of this is going to be on that Bucs defense.
And you know what? As much as the Bucs defense has really kind of erupted here, especially stopping the run in both of these games, and then the pass rush has come to life. Mm-hmm. They've done this without Kalijah Kancey. He's played 11 snaps,
and
he really could be an X factor if he comes in and as disruptive as he was on a couple of those snaps against the Vikings after missing all of training camp in the preseason. If this guy can get healthy and play on Monday night, even as a situational sub, Matt, he could be a real X factor in terms of getting past this really good Eagles offensive line and getting to Jalen Hurts.
It's funny, isn't it? Because we've talked very much before, especially about Logan Hall, how defensive tackle coming into the NFL is one of the toughest positions to play when you're going from college to the NFL. But no pun intended, Kalijah Kancey bucked that trend just with, a couple of snaps in that Vikings game, getting the first quarterback hit on Kirk Cousins before, obviously, his calf injury once again became an issue. So if they can get him back, and that extends the Bucs defensive tackle rotation just a little bit more, I think it can go a long way. We have another super chat, a $5 super chat from Paul, aka Florida Dreamhouse, who's been a constant commenter and super chatter as well. So thank you, Paul, who says, save this super chat and shout me out post game. Bucs win Monday night, and it won't be particularly close. Ooh. This is my Matty Diamond's call of the year.
Okay.
That is a very, very bold comment. But yeah, if you're right, we will absolutely give you a shout out.
Yeah. So it's going to be interesting, Matt, as you alluded to at the beginning of the show, right? You've got the number 1 rushing defense, which is the Eagles, and then the number 2 rushing defense, which is the Buccaneers, trying to stop that guy, DeAndre Swift, a former Georgia Bulldog, yet another Bulldog on this Eagles team. It's crazy. But you've got, Mailata, the left tackle there. He's a monster, like 6'8", 365 pounds. He actually makes Tristan Wirfs like maybe a little small. I'd love to see a fist fight between those two guys. It'd be like the Hulk and the Thing going at it from Marvel Comics, right? And then you got Lane Johnson on the other side, right? And he's been an all-pro type left or right tackle. So the edge rushers, Joe Tryon, Shawinka, Shaq Barrett, they're going to have their hands full with those tackles for sure. But I think that the interior of the offensive line, Jason Kelsey's almost 36 years old. He is a damn good, wily old center, Matt. But Vita Vea is just different. And I know that Jason Kelsey in training camp went up against the likes of Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, Fletcher Cox on a daily basis. So he's as battle tested as Robert Hainsey is. But there's no substitute for game speed, right? And it's full bore on Sundays and Mondays and Thursdays where it's not in training camp. And so maybe that's the chink in the armor where they can attack the interior of the Eagles defense. The Eagles offensive line. You've got Landon Dickerson, right? The other guard, his name escapes me right now. Both of those guys are second-round draft picks. So there's some talent there on paper, but maybe that interior, Vita Vea, Kalijah Cansey, Logan Hall, can do some damage to their interior like the Eagles might do against the Bucs.
We've talked a little bit about how punter Jake Camarda has been an unsung hero. Josh Capo wrote a whole story about it.
Yeah.
Vita Vea, a lot more people know about him, but he is having a crazy great beginning to his season. I mean, he was an absolute menace against the Chicago Bears, and I think Vita Vea might be onto something really, really special this season, just with how he's been able to dominate games so far. And the fact that he played even more snaps last week. Yeah, Cam Jurgens.
Yeah, Cam Jurgens.
Almost like I always think of like Arnold Schwarzenegger would be like, Jurgens. Anyway.
We need to attack Cam Jurgens. Do it now. Billy.
But Vita Vea, I think, is really going to do something special this season. His stamina seems up. He's as strong as ever. He's putting in – he always was a hustler, and he's hustling even more. He is becoming a game wrecker. And in this type of atmosphere on Monday Night Football with everybody watching and you want to make a statement, Vita Vea continuing to be a game wrecker will put the Bucs on the map and put Vita Vea on the map as one of the best interior defensive linemen in the league.
Monday night, we might be talking about Vita Vea, and we might be giving him some game balls. And as you know, they're presented by Manscaped. Well, folks, let me just tell you about Manscaped. That right there, that is the Platinum Package 4.0. And attention, fantasy football fanatics, as football season is here, don't neglect the most important draft pick of all, your game balls. We all know how injuries can ruin a season, so let Manscaped take care of that Reggie Bush of yours with their skin-safe technology. This should guarantee you have a smooth ride into the playoffs. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming have created a championship lineup with their Performance Package 4.0. And it's time that you get the same type of treatment. Join the 9 million men, including Matt and myself, worldwide, who trust Manscaped and get ready for kickoff by going to manscaped.com and saving 20% off and getting free shipping with the promo code PEWTER20. That's right, PEWTER20. That's 20% off plus free shipping when you go to Manscaped. With their Performance Package 4.0, you're going to get the Lawnmower 4.0. And it comes with a light, which is awesome because you don't want to, you got to see what you're doing down there. It has a light, which is very important. The Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer is a must for old men like me. Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, Crop Reviver Toner, probably Bailey Adams needs those. And the Performance Boxer Briefs and Travel Bag complete the whole setup. Slotted at quarterback is the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. This spaceship is here to guide you on a journey to trim your balls, your body hair, and even your A-gap. So do what I've done and use Manscaped products. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code PEWTER20 at manscaped.com. 20% off free shipping with the promo code PEWTER20. It's time to put the PP back in PPR and get a grip on your pigskin this season with Manscaped.
Shout out to Manscaped. Make sure you get all of their products. We have another super chat from Zachary Jarvis. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat, who says, can the Bucs drop the Eagles QB sneak? I think you're trying to say stop the Eagles QB sneak.
Yep.
I don't know if anyone can stop that quarterback sneak.
Yeah.
There's I think two ways you could go about it. But the problem is he just gets pushed forward. So I was thinking, like, remember the infamous Troy Polamalu play where he flies up, but he goes so low that's not really a possibility. I almost think, and this probably wouldn't even work out because it happened so quickly, but kind of like how the Patriots blocked that field goal the other night where the
Hmm.
corner like came off the edge. You almost got to have a corner run in from the side because the whole
Right.
line's moving inwards like
Right.
a wedge. You
Yeah.
almost got to have him come in at the side, hope that Hurts initially gets stuffed,
Yeah.
and then you kind of like grab him from behind and pull him backwards.
Yeah.
But again, it has to happen so quickly that maybe Zion could do it, but I don't know.
Yeah. You know what, Matt? That is a question I want answered from Todd Bowles and from uh I guess Larry Foote. Probably get Larry Foote this week, right? Defensive
Yeah,
coordinator.
yeah.
I want the answer from both of those guys. How do you stop that? Like just from a schematic standpoint, because obviously you're in goal line defense and it just doesn't work. It just
Yeah.
doesn't. They get the surge off the ball and then Jalen gets pushed over the pile. I mean, you can put Vita Vea and Will Golston there all you want, and you can put, Pat O'Connor in there who's now 300 pounds, and he's a quick get off kind of guy. Um, I just don't know how you stop it. I really
Yeah.
don't. Especially when it's inside a yard. When we're talking like, second and goal and half a yard, it's an automatic. So
Had two rushing touchdowns last
yeah,
week.
yeah. So I don't know. I would love to hear Bowles and Larry Foote answer that. I'm going to be flying out to Manhattan tomorrow, so I won't be at the press conferences. But that fascinates me as a
Yeah.
defensive guy. I hate seeing that because I like stopping plays on offense, and that drives me nuts because it's really hard to stop.
But I mean, it's extremely hard to stop. I don't blame the Eagles for doing it until
No,
there's a rule that says you can't have the
absolutely.
other guys push. Absolutely go for it because every other
Yeah.
team can do it too, but
Yes.
people don't for whatever reason.
Exactly. I think we covered a lot of bases here. I think this is ultimately going to be a game that's going to be decided two places: in the trenches and then on the sidelines. It's going to be the Bucs that you're going to have to make the right adjustments from the coaching staff. And I think so far, it's only 2 weeks, but I've been impressed with Dave Canales and impressed with Todd Bowles with the adjustments that they've made. And then it's just going to be the trenches, Matt. It's going to be, can the Bucs offensive line hold up? Can the defensive line get to Hurts and stop the run? Or is it going to be the Eagles trench warfare that's going to win the day on Monday night? So there's going to be a lot of stuff going on the outside. You got Darius Slay, Mike Evans, and all of that. Okay, great, whatever. But Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, which guy is upright at the end of the game? That's going to really be the deciding factor in this game. It's going to be the trench warfare, I think, along the offensive defensive lines.
Yeah, so many different factors going into this game. I agree with you. I think trench warfare. You hear Jason Light say it all the time. Like, I wish I could have every one of my picks be be a defensive lineman or an
Right.
offensive lineman. That just can't be the case.
Yep.
You can say this about a lot of NFL teams, but no one looks their best currently in September. There's still a lot of things that both teams have to work out. It's just a matter of who takes the biggest step forward in this week. Is it the Bucs running game, the Bucs pass protection on the offensive line, or is it, the Eagles defense just closing teams out in the second half, or the Eagles offense really getting on page with Devontae Smith and AJ Brown? That's really one of the biggest questions for me looking at this Monday Night Football matchup.
And I think the other thing too is let's not forget Dallas Goedert, right? It's like the Bucs have had trouble in years past. It's almost like the tight ends kind of overlooked. Cole Kmet didn't have a huge game for the Bears, but Dallas Goedert, Jalen Hurts will look to him, right? He's kind of in that trio in the passing game where you've got Devontae Smith and AJ Brown for sure, but Dallas Goedert is a guy where, if you're Devin White and you get caught napping or get caught looking, or you're Ryan Neal, right, and you're worried about the run, all of a sudden it's play action and you've taken a false step towards the line of scrimmage and Dallas Goedert's going to be behind you. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this game plays out. I mean, it's Wednesday and I can't wait until Monday night. This is going to be a fun game, and Matt and I will be at the stadium. We're going to be having Adam Slavon join us for game coverage live from Raymond James Stadium. Yep. Tomorrow, we're going to have another Pewter Report podcast at 4 o'clock. What do you have cooking for tomorrow, Matt?
Yeah, we got a really fun one coming up. We're going to have Eagles writer from CBS Sports, Jeff Kerr, joining us for about 15 minutes to half an hour at the beginning of the show. Just learning more about the Eagles, the ins and outs, what he's seen from the team, watching them and covering them. So that's going to be
a lot of Eagles coming back from injuries too.
Yeah,
get the scoop on.
exactly. And how this team shapes out, what's been working for them, what hasn't been. So very excited for tomorrow's show as we continue bringing on reporters of the opponents that that the Bucs are playing against. But we also have another super chat before we end the show.
Woo.
Shout out to Caesar 2 Dope for the $4.99 super chat. Thank you, Caesar. It says a Monday night, Raymond James Stadium needs to start a "Pay Mike Evans" chant. Saludos from Austin, Texas. Go Bucs. I mean, every other comment we get if we post anything about Mike Evans is pay him, pay him.
Yeah.
Pay him. He's making the case. He's making the case for himself.
Yep. Richard, with a happy Rondé Barber Day, everybody. That's right. It is Rondé Barber Day. They're having the Rondé Barber documentary premiere tonight at the Tampa Theater. The Buccaneers are hosting that. And we'll have a story on that at some point in time this week. Plus, I think they're putting that video on YouTube, which will be cool. It's like an hour and a half documentary, which is awesome. Plus, another awesome super chat here from Meets McGee, man.
Yeah, Meets McGee, thank you. Says Vikings had success running outside. Also, Philly gave up 4 sacks to the Vikings. I see White and Godwin will be heavily targeted. Yeah, I think we're going to see a couple of end arounds, a couple of things to the outside, which the Bucs haven't totally exploited just yet. But again, there's a long way to go this season, so you're not going to give everything away in the first 2 games.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you what, somebody else who's super excited about this week's game is Eric Gross. And why do I say that? Because Eric is a huge Tampa Bay fan and a huge avid reader for the Pewter Report podcast as well. And he listens and watches, and he's now an advertising partner, which is awesome. The Eric Gross Group is the official realtor of Pewter Report. And I want you guys to know that Eric is a Tampa native. He knows this area better than most. He's done hundreds of real estate transactions in this crazy economic climate that we're in. And he's going to help you get the best value for your house in terms of buying it or selling it. You're going to want Eric on your side. Why wouldn't you? He's a first-round draft pick kind of guy. He and his team have the market knowledge, the top-notch communication, and commitment to excellent service that sets them apart. You got to visit their website, housesandfla.com, housesandfla.com. You can check out their inventory. It's a great website, expertly laid out, just like the expert that he is when it comes to real estate. Also, make sure that you check out Facebook and Instagram, Eric Gross Group, and he's going to be giving away a creamsicle jersey on October 14th. We'll have more information on the next podcast. You can also check out our Facebook for more information on that. But no matter where you are in your home ownership journey, you're going to feel welcome with the Eric Gross Group, the official realtor of Pewter Report. Don't let the stress of buying or selling a home keep you out of the game. Call Eric, 513-907-4271. The Eric Gross Group, official realtor of Pewter Report.
And just a reminder to everybody, please follow us on all of our social media, whether it's X, Facebook, Instagram, or Threads. We are at Pewter Report. And our YouTube channel, which, again, thanks to everybody for 12,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
Our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV, where we have the podcast 4 times a week, the Pewter Game Day show, which is coming up on Monday this week at 6:15, with the game then starting at 7:15 with our live in-game analysis. But our YouTube channel has different clips throughout the week, from practice to Pewter Pulse, Pewter Picks and Props, so many different types of content just on our YouTube channel at Pewter Report TV. So please subscribe to that channel. Please like this YouTube page. Leave a comment as well. And that's about it for today's show. We'll have another one at 4 o'clock. So until then, another one tomorrow. So until then, for Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thank you, everybody, for watching. We'll see you tomorrow for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast.
Arr, matey. Thanks for 12,000. We love you, Pewter people.